We can't have you here not talk about Warren Gatland, because he has been in the press a fair bit this week. And he said this week that he won't subject himself to take charge of the British and Irish Lions tour to South Africa in 2021. I mean, you're obviously disappointed to hear that, but what have you made of all the first kind of post-tour now, I guess, that we're hearing?
It's not the first time it's happened post-Lions tour. I guess when you get such a large group of players, you know, there's 40 players, 40 management, I guess it's difficult to please everybody, but I guess the proof's in the pudding, you know. I think 99.9% of people thought the tour was a success, and I thought it was managed and handled very well. So it's slightly, you know, disappointing, but I think the majority of the people on that tour really enjoyed it and thought it was a great success. Good.
Okay, so let's talk about some more Welsh rugby news then this week, because there's been a fair bit, and we're going to talk now about the new Welsh selection policy. So Martin Williams, the WRU Chief Executive, announced, Martin Phillips, the WRU Chief Executive, announced this week a new Wales senior player selection policy. I mean, here's some of the extracts of that statement, but I guess the long and short of it is that they will now only pick players who play in Wales unless they have 60 caps or more. I mean, Sam, you're unaffected, you're on 74 caps, and I guess this is a really positive thing for Welsh rugby, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I guess every decision that the union makes is geared towards keeping guys in Wales, and you know, long term, the goal is going to be the 2019 World Cup and how can we retain as many players as possible. So there's a few guys who are just shy of that mark, and I'm sure that when they come to contract negotiations, you know, the priority for them will be the World Cup and staying in Wales, so they have the chance to play for Wales. So hopefully it's a good thing, you know, keep as many boys in Wales as we can and strengthen the regions.
Plus, as an outsider looking in, quite literally over there tonight, but as an outsider looking in, what are you making of it? Because it's very simple in England, isn't it? If you don't play in the Aviva Premiership, you don't play for England. Yeah,
it's funny. I've never liked the law. I've always found it really restrictive, and I love the thought of the lads going abroad and trying new things, becoming better players, playing with rock stars, learning new cultures and all that sort of stuff, and becoming more sort of well-rounded people. But I think I've been wrong, and I think this is actually exactly the right decision for the Welsh regions. And I might not be a Welshman. I'm very much an Englishman, but I want the Welsh regions to thrive. And Scarlet's aside at the moment, they're just not. And I think for them to thrive, step one is having their star players playing in Wales as often as possible. So I think it absolutely had to be done. It's abrasive, but I think it's correct.
OK, there are always players, I guess, that get kind of stuck in the middle of all this. And one of those players you know pretty well, Rhys Webb, he signed for Toulon a couple of weeks ago before this new change came out, if you like. So Warren Gatland said that he did speak to Rhys Webb about it. Rhys Webb and his agent said that that wasn't the case. What are you making of it all?
Well, somebody's not telling the truth somewhere, Sarah, that's for sure. But the timing of it is an issue for me. 60 caps, I can see why, because it captures a lot of the main blokes. But I think they've looked at it and gone, you know, there's one sacrificial lamb, and if it has to be somebody, it is Rhys Webb. And I feel really sorry for the young man who's dedicated his whole career to Wales, to one region, the Ospreys, and, you know, when he's going to play his trade for, you know, a good deal for his family and him at his age, with an injury record, that he's getting punished. And I feel very, very sorry for him, but I do understand why the Welsh Rugby are doing it.
OK, we can see there on the screen players in or around the 60 cap mark. And I guess the big one to talk about there is Dan Biggar. We know that he signed for Northampton now. He's on 56. So I think the whole of Wales, Sean, will be hoping that he doesn't have a serious injury between now and the end of the summer tour, because we might be without a scrum half and a fly half.
Yeah, the question is whether the deal is done before the announcement was made, and does that have any implications to it? If he does get injured and doesn't reach 60 caps, I suppose we'll find out, but nobody wants to get Daniel injured.
No. Let's hope not. Fingers crossed.